is Jack Knights. I'm an associate dean for admissions at Providence College, specifically recruiting students in the Mid-Atlantic.
Perfect. And my name's Elizabeth Ward, also Associate Dean of Admission. I am based out of Providence, but coming to you all live from Texas today, which is part of my territory across the country.
Great, awesome. So today we're going to dive into the different parts of the application. I know some people in the chat in the Zoom tonight have already started their application. Some people might be getting it started already. You know, that common application is open already and getting ready to press submit before the deadline's coming up here. Our first deadline being November 1st. But we'll get going here in terms of starting off about the application. So when you're writing your application, think of it as a story, right? Liz and I, everyone else in the Providence admissions office, you're all strangers to us, right? We don't know you. We're trying to get to know you through all of the different components of your application, right? And those three main components that you see on the screen there, the academic, personal, and then the PC specific part of it. So all of the parts of your application, whether it's your transcripts, your activities, your essay, and then those supplemental essays, as well as your letters of recommendation, they all play a part to putting together the full story of who you are. That's really what holistic application review is all about. So, when we are reading these applications at Providence, the best applications have a clear idea or story or theme that go on throughout the entire application. So, as we open up an application for the first time, we're looking at the transcript, seeing the story of your academic career, looking at those classes that you've taken, what you've taken in the context of your high school, and then seeing those activities, right? The same way we're looking for trends in your transcripts, we're looking for those trends in your activities as well, seeing, what you have been able to stick with 3 to 4 years, seeing that growth in those different activities, and to put together the whole picture of who you are. So I feel like whenever I read an application, I have a good idea of who somebody is, or a good application, I'm going to have that idea by the end of it. So at Providence, we're a school that reads every single thing that you submit, every single letter of recommendation, activity, essay that you submit. We're going to use it in our conversation for your admission for Providence. This is something I talk about a lot with students when I'm working on them with their essays over the summer. Is what you want the reader to remember about you when students are getting started with their essay. Thinking about writing down those things that you want the admissions committee to know about you before making a decision on your application. And then you sort of have a word bank throughout your application that you can sort of draw from, whether it's that you're an enthusiastic person, that you're a reader, that you're someone that's going to be really involved on our campus. What do you want that narrative to be for your application? And the final point here, we want you to be authentic in your application. We're not looking for the most polished person in the world when we're reading these applications. We want 17 and 18-year-old students who have lived lives that a typical 17 and 18-year-old has lived. So when you're putting down all that information, know that we're not looking to see that you were in the Olympics and climbed Mount Everest. We want to see that you were involved in your high school's campus and are going to bring some really great things to the Providence community as a student here.
Absolutely. If you happen to have been in the Olympics, though, please do tell us about that. I am, if nothing but nosy, when especially reading that activity section. This is the place to brag about the Olympics. That would be a really cool story to be able to read about. Jack set up that framework of what the common application is going to look like from our review perspective. And that transcript or academic bucket kind of is what it is at this point, right? Yes, you will still start to receive senior grades and things like that, but there isn't a whole lot that you still have control over that piece of it. We're going to now break down the rest of that common application to show you the parts that you do still have that true control over and the areas that you can really let that authentic voice come through that much more. Starting with the activity section, I'm going to speak much more to the seniors, but actually start with any juniors that are on the call today. This is someplace that I highly encourage you to just start this running list in your notes tab on your phone or the notes section on your phone. This will only help you in the future. You don't need to start filling it out completely, but just a reminder of all of the types of things that you're involved with throughout high school will make your senior year a little bit smoother when you go to complete the activities section of the Common Application. For those of you that have started your application already, you know that there are 10 spots that you can add on the activities section. And we do encourage you to use all 10 spots if it's appropriate for you. This is a place where we'll often get questions from students of, I do more than 10 things though, so how do I fit all of that in? Hopefully you can start to think a little critically about how to fit all of that in there. There are some things that you could group together if you're on multiple of the same sport but different teams, multiple teams. Put them together into one soccer section, and then use those 150 characters to the best of your ability to showcase all of the different teams that you've been a part of and the commitment that that takes up in your life. With those 150 characters, it's not a whole lot. So it really is that mini pitch of what you are involved with. And this is where we really encourage you to focus on your leadership within different organizations or on a team or at your job or whatever it is that takes up your day outside of the traditional school day, or classroom piece of your school day. This is where we want to learn about all of that. I do also encourage you all to kind of think outside of the box and go beyond just those traditional clubs and sports and jobs. A lot of you probably have external responsibilities, whether that's within your home life, caring for younger siblings or an elderly grandparent that lives with you. Those kind of household responsibilities are important to highlight as well. You can see at that bottom bullet point, though, go a little bit beyond just that you babysit your siblings and give more context to what you actually do. Starting off with those strong verbs really capture our attention a little bit better. So pulling us into what your activity and your responsibility within each activity actually is will help you stand out on this component of the Common Application. I think one thing that students sometimes get a little bogged down about is thinking or overthinking about the number of hours or weeks per year that you do a certain activity. It's totally okay if you're off by an hour or two. We will absolutely not hold that against you. So just make sure that you're hitting, if it's something that takes up a significant portion of time, relaying that appropriately. What we're really looking for on this activity section is a student who is taking advantage of their high school experience in preparation for our college campus. We have a very active student body, so this is a place where we can start to see your personal fit to Providence College. Are you somebody that's going to take advantage of our 120 clubs and organizations? We want to see that eagerness come through on this activities list. One other thing, and this might just be a personal pet peeve of mine, but if you are part of a club or organization that is an acronym, just give us a little bit more context to that. I have been reading one specific territory for almost a decade now, so I know what that acronym stands for. Now, I didn't my first year. So making sure that you're not assuming that the other person on the other side of the screen, who's reading your application knows every single thing about the clubs and organizations you're a part of that might be specific to your hometown area. We do our best to learn them all, but we don't always know right away.
Right. Yeah. The other thing that we're looking for, this isn't really a piece to the application, but this is really thinking about the overall story that you're telling, and that's the fit to the major or the institution that you're applying to. So, if you have a major that you're thinking about right now, show us why you're interested in that major. That could be through your activities, and again, like Liz was talking about, thinking critically about those activities. So whether it's, you didn't have the opportunity, you're a political science major and you didn't intern with, a local congressman, that's okay. Think about those different activities that have shaped you into how you want to be in that major. So, a business major working at a grocery store, you might not think of that right away, but, being able to manage money, manage people, those types of things are all important parts to the business world. Definitely through your academic courses, we're looking at that. Whether it's, you're applying to a business major, we want to see that you have a strong business preparation coming in to Providence, or a strong math preparation coming into Providence, that you have an idea of what you're getting into and the rigor of the courses. You're going to be able to be successful in those courses, depending on what major you are. So we will be looking a little bit closer at those. If you're an English major, we want you to have some great grades showing off in higher level English classes. So think about that. Um, and we want to know that you're ready to roll when you step foot on campus in the fall, that you have had the preparation, both academically or outside of the classroom, to have an idea of what your major is. So coming in, we want you to be prepared to study whatever you're studying, and to be able to participate in those discussions for those 101 classes that you'll be taking in your major, as you build those tactical skills for whatever major that you choose. This past year, 20% of our freshman class came in as undecided. Providence is a great place for students to come in undecided. I don't know about you, Liz, but sometimes when I'm thinking about fit to major and see somebody, I'm like, this is a great undecided student right here. Someone that has a lot of multiple interests, which is truly, in a lot of ways, what the Providence student is, with 1 in 5 students being a double major at PC. So, with that, being undecided is completely okay. But thinking about that fit to the major or the institution, we want to see that you're excited about being at Providence College, that you're going to be someone who's going to come in and join those 120 clubs and organizations. You're going to be someone who's going to be an active participant, because we not only want to have good students at Providence College, we want to have good roommates. We want to have good club members. We want to have people that are good members of the city of Providence and the state of Rhode Island. So, with that, showing that fit to Providence as a liberal arts institution at our core is definitely really important, and something that we make note of on an application of a student, that we might say, this is a Providence student through and through.
Absolutely. Yeah. As somebody who started at PC as an undeclared student, just showing that intellectual curiosity and interest in our liberal arts curriculum, that's a way of showing a fit to major, right? It's still showing that fit to the academics of Providence. So if you are undeclared, don't worry. Again, 20% of that incoming class is as well. But don't feel that you're missing anything if you can't show a fit to a specific major. Our favorite part, or at least my favorite part, Jack, I'm assuming you will agree with this though, is
Absolutely.
is that personal essay piece, because this is the part that you have the most control over. It's the place where your authentic voice gets to shine through the absolute most. So this is the really fun part. Jack and I get to meet a lot of students when we are out visiting your high schools and meeting you at college fairs, but we can't meet every single student who chooses to apply to Providence. But in that essay, we really do hope to meet you and get to know you a little bit further. Some things to remember about the personal essay: that goes, one, it's part of the common application, so it does go to every school. So keeping that in mind, it should be, I don't want to use the word generic, but maybe just not school specific, or at least be mindful if you are going to make it any type of school specific. But this is also not your resume. It's not the place to sit and reiterate every single thing that we've learned about you from the activities list. It could be a place to expand upon a specific activity well beyond what we've already learned on that activities list. It is also not an academic paper. So if you are sitting in your US history class junior year and looking at DBQ questions and writing it in this formal specific style, that's not what we're looking for. This is the place for your voice. So if you are a student where writing kind of that diary entry type of essay, or we've had students write poems as part of their personal essay, or song lyrics, different things like that. Whatever your personal voice is, this is the place to do that. I will say it is not the place to start being a comedian if you are not funny at all, or think that you are funny like myself and try to put dad jokes into everything. Not the right place for it. We did host a webinar this summer, all with tips and tricks about the personal essay. So I encourage you all to go check that out. But this is, again, that place to hear your voice come through. So it is that self-reflection component, not just, again, that reiteration of accolades or achievements or activities. We are hoping for you to tell us a little bit more about who you are and how you see the world. That's a very somewhat PC specific part of what we are hoping to encourage you to respond to in that essay response, because a lot of our campus is helping you figure out what type of person you want to be in the world. So putting those types of reflective pieces into the essay can be very helpful. I will also say there are multiple questions that come along with each of the Common Application essay topics. So make sure that you're answering a lot of them, or that you're answering all of the ones that come along with it. They often include some form of why. So reflecting on that piece of why you're telling us that story is a really important part of this. Um, the goal isn't to impress us. It's also not the place to have some crazy story that you feel you need to tell us. It's just your place to connect and, again, share that personal piece of who you are as a student applying to college.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the hot topics right now around the essay is definitely AI, using AI for an essay. And one of the sayings that I've sort of have gone with here is, we're looking for content, not polish, right? So
Mhm.
we want to learn about you. That's what we want to get out of the essay. We want to see that you're able to write at a college level, but it's not like we're going through it with a red pen, that you missed a comma here or there. Or your word choice could have been different here. We might be looking at that a little bit, but really what we're trying to do is get to know you, right? This is your opportunity to talk with the person reading your application one on one. So make the most of that opportunity to give that content about who you are as a person that ChatGPT doesn't know about.
I will also say if there are any parents or guardians or college counselors or anybody on the other side of the screen, we do know when your voice starts to take over a little bit too much. So put that red pen down from an editing perspective and let the high school voice really ring true here.
Absolutely. We know how a high school student sounds. We talk to them every day. So the other part of the essays that we might be reading is that optional supplemental essay. So with the supplemental essay, that's a big part of sort of what I was talking about earlier with finding your fit. Within the school and to show your intentionality about applying to a specific school. So, that optional essay, not everybody uses that opportunity. And so, if you're serious about the school that you're applying to, if you're serious about applying to Providence College and you think this is a place that you could see yourself as spending the next 4 years of your life, definitely do that supplemental essay. We want to learn a little bit more about you. So, it's another place for us to see a writing sample for you, but also it's a place for you to share about why you're so interested in Providence College and why you're going to be a great fit. So, really being able to answer those types of questions, and be specific in those questions as well. Be able to show off that you've done some research about the school. This isn't just an application that you're sort of throwing over towards Providence College. If I get in, I get in kind of an idea. We want you to be intentional. When I think about a Providence student, the first word that comes to my mind is excited, right? They're excited about whatever they're doing, and we want to have students that are really excited to be here at Providence College, and showing that through your supplemental essay is definitely a great place on the application for you to talk, specifically about Providence College, which you don't get to really do in the rest of your application. There are going to be some other colleges. We don't do this at Providence that might ask for a multiple short answer questions um, that are part of the My Colleges tab on your Common App. So make sure that as you're creating your list, you're having a good understanding of how many additional supplemental essays that you're going to write. You apply to 10 schools, all 10 schools want you to write something else. That adds up in terms of the time that you're going to be spending about being intentional and researching all of those schools so that you can be as specific as possible. Um, and we want to hear something else, right? We learned about what you wrote in your common application essay. We want to learn something else in that supplemental essay. Obviously don't copy and paste or, see this as up. I couldn't get my essay in 650 words, but they got a supplemental essay, so I can keep going on the same topic, right? This is a chance for you to touch on something different about yourself. You have such a great story to tell, and so many things that you can talk about. That we want to see those different areas and different angles that show us who you really are. So that supplemental essay does a great job of that, and being able to present that opportunity again for you to be able to talk one-on-one with the person reading your application.
Yeah. Jack, you hit the nail on the head talking about how every school may be asking a supplemental question too, right? So you want to make sure that you're dedicating time to that. I think that's a place where sometimes students fall short in the Common Application. They spend so much time on that personal essay that is part of the Common App, and then sometimes forget or just throw together last minute responses to these supplemental ones. But sometimes these just really help us see that personal fit to our own institutions. I do also think for students still in that exploratory stage, if a school has a supplemental question that they are asking you to complete, that also helps you learn some of the values of a campus. So, what we ask often tells you things that are important to us at that institution. So, sometimes that can help you determine if the questions the school is asking align with what you're looking for in a college for the future. Um, so just trying to keep that piece in mind. Some schools may have ones that are specific by major. We at Providence specifically do have that overarching PC specific question that is optional for you to complete. And then we do also have an extra one for our nursing applicants. So something to remember as well. Some specific programs may ask you to go a little bit further in that kind of extra writing piece of it. Awesome. So we see some questions starting to come in, but do want to make sure that we leave you with 5 key takeaways today, and kind of just reiterate a lot of what we've been sharing with you throughout this evening. So first one, capitalize on that activities list. Use it to its fullest extent. You've got 10 spaces to complete them to their fullest. Some schools may allow you to submit a resume. Providence does. If a school doesn't, make sure you're taking full advantage of what that activities list is. Resumes are by no means required. If it's going to be the exact same thing as the activities list, don't submit the same information twice. Do it really great the first time. Proofreading your essay for that authentic voice, having other people read it. A high school counselor shared with me at one point of you should be able to drop your essay in the middle of your high school hallway and someone should pick it up and know who it belongs to. Like it should be so personalized to you that anybody in the high school should be able to know, oh, this is Elizabeth Ward's essay. Let me go give it back to her kind of thing. With recommendation letters, that's one of those personal pieces too. At Providence, we only require one from your school counselor, but you are more than welcome to send in as many as you would like. We do encourage you to start asking those recommenders now if you haven't already. My high horse is also that you are asking them to write a recommendation letter, not telling them. But keeping that in mind, giving them enough time to speak to you most personally in that recommendation letter. I find it very helpful to provide them with some of those key points that you want to make sure that they're hitting upon, whether it's your school counselor of just specific things about you that you don't know where to put in your application, they can do it for you in that letter of recommendation, or specific things that came up with the teacher in a class or your coach with you on the field, or whatever those key points are that you really want to make sure that person is sharing with us. The thing with recommendation letters too, they should be providing additional context to what we are learning elsewhere in the application, not just reiterating what we've already learned. Number 4, completing those school-specific essay questions, even if they're optional. Again, this is that place to really hammer home that school-specific information, talking about the research that you've done about the school and showcasing that, talking about the visit that you had on that campus, what you learned, and what you can't wait to keep doing in the future, all of those types of things. It's another place for your authentic voice that sometimes students leave off just because it's optional. And that final piece is being a self-advocate throughout this entire process in every area of the application and of the process itself. This is something that I think students don't always know that they can do. If there are specific parts of your high school experience, whether it's a specific grade in one class from freshman year that you want to make sure has more context and explanation to it, be your self advocate. Use the additional info section, reach out to admission counselors at different schools, and give us that context. We know what you provide us with. We can fill in some gaps, but we can't fill them all in. So share that information with us so that we have that fullest picture of you. Jack, do you think those 5 key takeaways capture how to craft a successful application?
I think there's all the keys right there. You know, you do those 5 things right there, you're gonna have a really nice application to Providence and to any school that students are really applying to. Do you want to go to questions now, Liz?
Sure.
All right, let's do it. Yeah,
We've been typing some responses, but want to answer a bunch of these live too.
yeah. Yeah, so this is one I wanted to touch on here live. There's a lot of pressure on creating a very unique personal essay. Should I be worried about my essay not being creative enough, or just focus on being authentic? When you think about the creativity of your essay, right? A lot of times when I'm sitting down with students talking about an essay, I say, what's your essay about? And they tell me, it's about this game that I was in, right? But really what the essay is always going to be about is about you, right? It's about the person writing the essay. We don't want you to, make up a story or, come up with and tell us about the worst day of your life of all time. We want to learn about the things that really drive you as a person and really what your worldview is in a lot of ways. We want to learn about you and what your worldview is. So, with that, I know there is pressure on the essay, but at the end of the day, make sure that you're telling your story and that you're able to share the information, a lot of those sort of soft skills that the rest of the application doesn't give us, and showcasing those in your essay.
Absolutely. Um, I was starting to touch upon this with that self-advocacy piece of it, but there's a question of what's the best way to explain a bad grade in the class or on the application or another way. Some of that can be in the application, some of it can be that direct outreach to a counselor. It could be within a school counselor recommendation letter, things like that. Jack, how would you advise that student specifically? I think one of my biggest key takeaways from talking about a kind of outlier grade is to not blame the teacher, but
Yeah.
being self-advocate in that kind of way. How would you tackle that?
Yeah, so I think that additional information section is a great opportunity for you to touch on it. Don't just think that we're not going to see your a grade that doesn't line up with the rest of your application, the rest of your transcript. Touching on that information and being able to really talk about what you worked on, right? When I talk to students, a lot of times I ask them what are they most proud of academically, and a lot of times it might be that class that they struggled in, that they had to go do some additional work and they had to work really hard on in that class. So sharing that information for us and showing that you're able to have those reactions to those setbacks, and what you've really done of it. So really trying to put a positive spin on it, and not pointing a finger at anybody, because you're the one who earned the grade in the class. And like Liz said, don't just say you didn't like your teacher and your teacher didn't like you.
Absolutely. We talked a little bit about how to put that fit to major throughout your application. And one student was asking, on the Common App, we declare which school and intended major we are interested in. What if we are interested in double majoring? How would that work in the application process? We get this a lot, either double majoring or majoring and minoring. This is not something for Providence specifically that you are going to indicate on the application itself, but there can be ways of talking about those secondary passions, or I don't mean secondary, but like 1A, 1B kind of moment throughout your application of showing kind of that duality. We love that from a liberal arts perspective too. Or you can reach out to your counselor and say, hey, I know I applied this, but I'm also interested in this. Can you share some information? Those types of communications will be added to your application, just as that reminder of, hey, this student has this second passion too. There were a couple of questions asking about the activities list, how to order them. I typed one response, but came through in a few other ways too. So that's a really good question, and one that you may not expect the response I'm about to give. I don't care what order you put them in because it's your activities list, not mine. You should put them in the order of which they're most important to you. That helps us understand where your passions fall, what's most important to you. Again, your authentic voice should be completing that activities list. So don't put it in the order you think I want to be reading it. Put it in the order that works for you.
Yeah, right. And I'm always fascinated at what the first one that students put,
Mhm.
because sometimes I've heard of people that do it alphabetically, which I don't think would ever be able to pick up on that personally. But a lot of times when I look at an activities list, I think the first one is the one that somebody thinks is the most important to them, right? The one that they might have spent the most time in, that has made the biggest impact on their life, because
Mhm.
that's where they're putting it first. But like Liz says, it's not like we're really analyzing that, more just like a interest kind of thing for us.
Exactly. We get more than enough applications. I can't spend that much time trying to figure out, oh,
Yeah,
this is alphabetized, this one's by this. It's
yeah,
whatever's
right.
most important to you.
Yeah.
Um,
So we'll do one last question here. I know we're a little bit over time here, but taking honors, dual enrollment, college level or AP courses give prospective applicants a leg up in the admissions process. It depends, but probably yes. Thinking about when we're reviewing applications, I have your transcript on one screen and I have all the classes offered at your high school on the other screen. So with that, seeing what you've taken and what you've been able to take advantage of in the context of your high school environment is really what we're trying to do there. So if you have the opportunity to take dual enrollment, to take AP classes, we're excited to see that you're challenging yourself in the classroom while still being successful in those classes at the same time.
Absolutely. We know that there's some questions that we haven't completely tackled tonight, but we will follow up with the recording of this and provide some more responses to a few things, but also want to be respectful of all of your evenings and time. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. Hopefully you found this helpful. Again, whether you are in those final polishing stages of the application process or just getting started tonight and figuring out how to tackle it moving forward, we are here to help every stage of the way. So feel free to reach out to either one of the two of us or your personal counselor within the Office of Admission if this isn't one of the two of us. We are here to help at every point with it. Any
Absolutely.
final words of wisdom, Jack?
Good luck this year. Have fun. This is a once in a lifetime process for you. And remember to be where your feet are here. Enjoy your senior year. And don't let the college application process, really take over your life. Know that it's part of your senior year, but enjoy all the other parts of your senior year as well.
Have a great night, everyone.